The human who would not the sky of Zeloria was dark blue, filled with glowing rings that circled the planet like silver ribbons. Giant crystal towers stood tall, shining softly under the alien moons. The city was quiet, but deep inside the medical center, something unusual was happening. Inside a bright medical chamber, the alien healer Syria stood over a body lying on the metal table. It was a human, a strange creature to her kind. The humans were new to this part of the galaxy. They were smaller than Zelorians, weaker in muscle, and their technology was less advanced. But this one was different. His name was Daniel, and he should have been dead. The Discover Syria held her scanning device carefully over Daniel's broken body. The screen showed clear results: multiple broken ribs, internal bleeding, organ damage, and blood loss beyond survival levels. Her sharp purple eyes widened. She whispered to herself in shock, "Impossible. You should be dead." She checked the scanner again. The results didn't change. Daniel's heart kept beating, slow but steady. His lungs, though damaged, still pulled air into his chest. His brain activity remained strong. Syria had never seen anything like this. In her medical studies, she had learned that humans were fragile. One major injury could end their lives, but this human refused to die. Curiosity growth guards behind her spoke nervously. "He won't last long," one of them said. "We should inform the council." Syria raised her hand, silencing them. "No," she said softly. "Wait." She leaned closer to Daniel, watching his chest rise and fall. "What keeps you alive, human?" Her mind filled with questions. Was it his species? Was it something unique inside him? Or was it something else, something deeper? Syria had spent her life studying bodies, cells, and organs, but never had she seen a willpower like this one that held life tightly. Even when the body was broken, the rules of her people among the Zelorians, humans were not trusted. They were seen as dangerous, wild creatures. The council allowed a few humans into Zelorian space for trade, but only under strict watch. If a human was injured or captured, the law said they should be studied carefully, or sometimes quietly removed. Syria knew this. She knew she should not feel this pull of curiosity. But as she looked at Daniel, she saw not a monster but something strange, something strong, something beautiful. Not in his body, but in his fight to live. The crash hours earlier, Daniel's ship had been shot down by a rogue defense drone. His small craft burned as it crashed into the outskirts of Zelorian territory. He had crawled from the wreckage, broken and bleeding, before collapsing. The patrol found him barely breathing. Now, here he was still alive. The human awakened suddenly. Daniel's fingers twitched. Syria jumped, slightly. His eyes slowly opened. He stared at the bright lights above, confused. His dry lips moved. "Where am I?" Syria quickly moved closer, speaking calmly. "You are in Zeloria. You were badly injured." Daniel blinked. His voice was weak, but he managed a small smile. "I'm alive." Syria nodded, still amazed. "You should not be." Daniel chuckled softly, even while struggling to breathe. Humans were stubborn. Syria's heart raced at his calmness, even in pain. He joked. She whispered again, "Impossible." Breaking the roulette, the guard stepped forward. "He speaks. Shall we contact the council?" Syria paused. For a moment, she knew what she should say, but something inside her spoke louder. "Not yet. He needs rest." "I will monitor him personally." The guards hesitated, but obeyed her orders. After they left, Syria stood alone with Daniel. She watched him closely, studying his weak but steady breathing. Daniel looked at her again. "What's your name?" Syria blinked. No human had ever asked her that before. "Syria." Daniel smiled faintly. "Nice to meet you, Syria." The seed of curiosity as the night passed, Syria remained beside him. Her mind was full of questions. What made him different? Was it just biology, or was it something inside his heart, his mind? She had always trusted science, but now, for the first time, she was curious about something science could not explain, the human will to live. And as she watched him fight for every breath, a strange new feeling grew inside her. Not just curiosity, but connection. Far beyond the medical chamber, others in the Zelorian Council whispered in secret. The human survived. Impossible. This cannot be allowed. The danger was only beginning. The forbidden curiosity. Next morning on Zeloria was peaceful. But inside the medical chamber, Syria felt anything but peace. She stood beside Daniel, watching him sleep. His breathing was slow but steady. His injuries were still severe, but his body refused to give up. Syria whispered softly to herself, "How can you still fight? No one from my people would survive this." The council's orders, the metal door slid open. The high-ranking officers entered, both wearing black armor. One of them was Commander Varun, leader of the Zellorian security forces. His voice was sharp. "Report." "Healer Syria." Syria kept her face calm. "The human remains alive. His body continues to heal, even beyond expectations." Commander Varun narrowed his eyes. "He should not still live." The council grows concerned. "Keep him under full watch, and if his condition worsens, do not waste resources." Syria's hands tightened behind her back. She nodded, but inside her chest, her heart burned. She waited until they left, then looked back at Daniel. "They see you as nothing but a problem." She sighed, "But I see something different." Daniel wakes again hours later. Daniel slowly opened his eyes. The light made him squint. Syria moved closer. "You are awake again." Daniel smiled weakly. "Still alive, huh? Lucky me." Syria tilted her head. "Luck? No. Your body should not survive this level of damage. But you continue." Daniel chuckled softly. "Humans are strange. That way, we don't give up easily." Syria was silent for a moment, then spoke carefully. "Why? Why fight so hard when your body is breaking?" Daniel's voice was soft. "Because life is precious. As long as I can take one more breath, there's hope." Syria stared at him. His words were simple, but they touched something deep inside her. The forbidden bond begins over the next few days. Syria spent more time with Daniel. She was supposed to remain professional. She was supposed to simply study him. But every time she spoke with him, something changed. Daniel shared stories about Earth, about how humans struggled, how they failed many times but always stood back up. He spoke of family, friends, and hope. Syria had never heard such things from her own people. Among Zellorians, emotion was seen as weakness. Strength was cold and logical, but Daniel's words were warm. His strength came from something different. Syria began to question everything she had been taught. Danger in the shadows far from the medical chamber, inside the secret council chamber. A group of elders met. "The human continues to live." One said. Another elder, Elder Myron, spoke coldly. "His survival threatens our authority. If our people see humans as strong, they may question our teachings." The council feared what Daniel represented. Proof that humans were not weak. Proof that the old lies may fall apart. Elder Myron whispered, "We must act soon." Quietly. The risk Syria takes that night. Syria returned to Daniel's chamber after the guards had left. She carried a small healing device in her hand. Forbidden technology not allowed for human treatment. She knew if the council discovered this, she would face severe punishment. Daniel looked up, surprised. "You're back." Syria nodded. "I could help reduce your pain, but this is not allowed. If they find out, I will be punished." Daniel frowned. "You don't have to risk yourself. For me." Syria looked directly into his eyes. "I want to." Her voice was steady, but inside she felt nervous. She had never broken rules before, but this time, her heart told her it was right. She activated the device. A soft blue light covered Daniel's chest. He let out a deep breath as the pain faded. "Thank you," he whispered. A moment of trust. After a long pause, Daniel spoke softly. "Why are you helping me?" "Syria?" Syria lowered her head. "Because you are not what they told us. You are not weak. You are not dangerous. You are alive, strong in ways I do not understand." Daniel smiled gently. "Sometimes strength is not about muscles. It's about not giving up inside." Syria felt her chest tighten again. In this quiet moment, surrounded by danger, their bond grew stronger. A human and an alien to hearts beginning to trust each other in a world filled with fear. The hidden plot. But outside, in the darkness, secret watchers observed Syria's visits. One whispered into a communication device. "The healer grows too close to the human. We must act soon." The real danger was drawing closer. Syria's forbidden curiosity had opened the door, but now, powerful enemies were ready to slam it shut. The unseen threat city of Zelloria glowed under the soft purple sky. To most, everything seemed calm, but inside the high towers of the council, dark plans were growing. The secret group of elders led by Elder Myron met in silence. "The healer. Syria grows attached to the human," Myron said, his voice cold. "If this continues, others may question our laws." Another elder whispered, her actions threaten our control. The people must not see humans as equals. Myron slammed his hand on the table. Then we must remove both of them, quietly. The plan was set. They would not wait any longer. Syria's worries grow back in the medical chamber. Syria carefully checked Daniel's wounds. The forbidden healing device had helped greatly. His breathing was stronger now. The worst injuries were starting to heal, but Syria's heart was heavy. She knew she had broken many rules to help him, and she feared the council was watching her. Closely dotted as she worked, Daniel noticed her worried eyes. Syria, what's wrong? She hesitated for a moment. The council does not approve of my help. They fear what you represent. Daniel sighed. I never wanted to bring you trouble. Syria shook her head. You did not bring trouble. You brought questions. She sat beside him, speaking softly. Before I met you, I followed every rule without thought. But now, I wonder if everything we believe is wrong. Daniel smiled gently. Asking questions is the first step to finding truth. The first. Attack late that night, while Syria rested in her private quarters. Silent figures entered the medical wing. The secret agents moved toward Daniel's bed. One whispered, the council wants him gone. They prepared to inject the poison into his IV line, a quiet death. But just as they reached him, Daniel opened his eyes. He had heard their soft steps. I don't think so, Daniel whispered, grabbing one attacker's wrist. The alien was shocked by Daniel's sudden strength. Even wounded, the human fought back. He pulled the attacker forward, slamming him into the metal wall. The second agent lunged, but Daniel kicked him back with surprising force. His injuries burned, but adrenaline kept him moving. The guards outside heard the noise and rushed in. The attackers quickly fled through a hidden exit before being caught. Syria's shock when Syria arrived moments later. She saw the broken equipment, the blood on Daniel's knuckles. Daniel, are you? I'm fine. He interrupted, breathing hard. But someone tried to kill me. Syria's face darkened. The council will do anything to stop this. Daniel looked into her eyes. They don't just want me dead. They want to stop us from questioning the lies. Syria nodded slowly. That we need to find the truth. The search for answers. Syria knew there was only one place where the real truth might still exist, the ancient archives deep below the council hall. Few had access to it. The oldest records were kept hidden there, far from public view. She whispered, the ancient data cores might hold the history they erased. If we can reach them, we can expose everything. Daniel smiled weakly. Sounds dangerous. Syria replied, firmly, it is. But you once told me that strength isn't just about surviving injuries. It's about standing even when it's dangerous. Daniel chuckled. Now you're learning. The forbidden journey began late at night, under the cover of darkness. Syria and Daniel prepared for their secret journey. Daniel, still weak but determined, wore a light support suit Syria had secretly prepared to help him move out as they left. The medical chamber, Syria whispered, if they catch us, they may execute both of us. Daniel simply nodded. Then let's not get caught. They slipped into the underground tunnels that led toward the ancient archives. But unknown to them, the secret council agents were already watching. Their escape had triggered new orders. The silent hunt had begun. Asters the chase through the ruins. Tunnels beneath Zeloria were cold and silent. The air smelled old, untouched for centuries. Cracked stone walls were covered in ancient symbols, and writings long forgotten by most of Syria's people. Syria led the way, her sharp eyes scanning every corner. Daniel followed close behind, his breathing still heavy, but his legs steady thanks to the support suit. The deeper they went, the more ancient the tunnels became. The hidden history as they moved forward. Syria paused to examine a large wall of glowing symbols. Her voice was soft. These writings, they speak of the early days, before the council erased this part of history. Daniel looked at the strange symbols, unable to read them. What does it say? Syria read slowly. Long ago, humans and Zelorians shared knowledge. Together, they created great technology, but leaders feared humans would one day surpass them. The alliance was broken. Lies were spread to control the people. She stopped, her voice heavy. We were allies once, but my people turned against yours out of fear. Daniel placed a hand gently on her arm. And now, you're risking everything to fix it. Syria looked into his eyes. It's time the truth comes back to light. The hunters closed in far behind them, the councils. Secret agents moved through the tunnels. Their leader spoke coldly. Do not kill them yet. We need the proof destroyed first. Then we erase them both. They moved swiftly, their footsteps echoing softly through the ancient halls. The collapse of Syria and Daniel continued. They reached a wide chamber filled with old machinery and crystal. Panels dotted at the far end stood a large circular door glowing faintly, the archive chamber. Syria whispered, but as they stepped forward, a loud cracking sound echoed above. Loose stones began to fall. Daniel grabbed Syria's arm. Watch out. A huge stone crashed beside them, blocking their path back. The tunnel behind them was sealed. Dust filled the air. No way back. Syria looked at the collapsed passage. We can't return the same way. Daniel coughed, but smiled weakly. Then, we moved forward. They pushed toward the glowing door. Syria scanned her hand over the control panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft hum, the door slowly opened. Inside, rows of ancient data cores blinked softly, untouched for generations. The truth revealed. Syria quickly activated one of the data cores. A holographic recording appeared, showing an old council meeting from centuries ago. An ancient Zellorian leader spoke. Humans grow too strong. If we allow them to rise, we will lose control. We must break the alliance and spread fear. Another voice responded, but they are our partners. Not anymore. Fear is easier to control than trust. The recording ended. Syria's hands trembled. They lied to us all. Daniel stood beside her, his voice calm. Now we have proof. We can show your people the truth. The ambush suddenly, sharp voices echoed behind them. Enough. The secret agents had arrived, weapons raised. Their leader stepped forward, eyes cold. You found what should have remained buried. You won't leave this place alive. Syria moved in front of Daniel, her body blocking him. If you destroy us now, you only prove your fear. The leader sneered. Fear keeps order. Daniel whispered to Syria, we can't fight them directly. Syria glanced at the data cores, then back at the ancient machines around them. Her mind raced. Maybe we don't need to fight. Just expose. The desperate move. Syria quickly activated a hidden control on the data core. A warning flashed. Begin full public broadcast. She pressed confirm. Suddenly, the holographic recording streamed directly to the city's central towers, broadcasting across all of Zelloria. The entire population now saw the council's secret betrayal live. The turning point. Secret agents panicked. Shut it down, one shouted. But it was too late. Above ground, citizens gathered as the truth played across giant screens. Young Zellorians gasped. They lied to us. Angry voices rose across the city. The power of lies was breaking. The escapee. As the agents charged forward, Syria pulled Daniel into a side tunnel. Blaster shots rang out, but they dodged behind ancient pillars, using her knowledge of the ruins. Syria led Daniel through a narrow escape route. They emerged hours later, far from the council hall, as chaos unfolded above them. The truth buried deep. The city of Zelloria was no longer quiet. In every corner, holographic screens replayed the ancient recordings from the hidden archives. Citizens stood frozen, watching the truth unfold. The lies they believed for generations were crumbling before their eyes. Old Varkan leaders spoke from the past, admitting how fear was used to divide them from humans. We were allies once, one young Zellorian whispered in shock. Anger and confusion filled the streets. The people had been controlled by lies. Now, they wanted answers. The council in chaos inside the Grand Council Hall. Elder Myron stood at the center, furious. The other council members shouted, many demanding explanations. You told us the humans were dangerous. You said they attacked us first. Myron's voice was sharp, but his hands trembled. They are dangerous. If we allow them back into our lives, they will destroy our traditions. But his words were weak now. The people had seen the truth. Many younger council members began to turn against him. You created fear to keep your power, one young member said. The council was falling apart. Daniel and Syria regrouped. Meanwhile, deep in a secret chamber outside the city, Syria and Daniel hid safely for now. Daniel sat beside her, breathing deeply. His body was still weak, but stronger than before. Syria checked his pulse. Your recovery is remarkable, even after everything. Daniel smiled softly. Like I told you, humans don't give up easily. Syria lowered her head, her voice filled with emotion. I never believed I would question my people, but you made me see what I refused to see for so long. Daniel placed his hand gently over hers. You chose to see. That's the hardest part. The people began to rissy as the sun set over the glowing towers. Groups of Zelorian citizens gathered in protest. They held banners calling for peace with humans. Many demanded the removal of the old council leaders. Small groups of soldiers loyal to the council tried to silence them, but more soldiers refused to obey. "We serve the people, not the liars," one guard declared, laying down his weapon. The rebellion was growing. Myron's last plan inside his private chamber. Elder Myron spoke secretly with his remaining loyal agents. "We are losing control," one of his agents whispered. Myron's face darkened. "That we destroy the human before he can speak again. We make it look like an accident. Without him, Syria's words will lose power." The assassination team prepared quickly. The unexpected visitor bit before Myron's plan could move forward. A surprising visitor entered the chamber. Commander Varun, head of Zeloria's military, stood tall. Myron sneered. "Have you come to stop me too?" Varun answered coldly. "No, Elder. I've come to arrest you." Myron's eyes widened. "You dare?" Varun raised his weapon. "You betrayed us all. You made us live in fear. That ends tonight." Guards surrounded Myron, placing him in restraints. The people's voices outside grew louder, calling for full freedom and peace with humans. A public speech with Myron arrested. Commander Varun called for a public broadcast. Syria and Daniel stood before thousands of Zelorians, their faces shown across every screen. Syria spoke first, her voice strong. "We were taught to fear humans, but I have seen their true strength, not in their weapons or muscles, but in their hearts." She looked at Daniel, then back at her people. "We can no longer let fear rule us. The truth is free now. It's time we choose peace." The crowd cheered. Daniel then spoke, his voice softer but firm. "I came here a stranger, but you showed me kindness, and I offered it back. We are now so different. We both want peace, family, and hope for a better future." The crowd's decision people erupted into chants of unity, peace with humans, no more fear, new council. For the first time in centuries, humans and Zelorians stood on the edge of true partnership. But even as hope filled the city, Syria knew one last test remained. "Not all enemies have fallen yet," she whispered to Daniel. Daniel nodded. "That we stay strong together." The final confrontation there over Zeloria was heavy with tension. Though Elder Myron had been arrested, not all of his loyal followers had given up. In the dark corners of the city, a small group of extremists gathered for one last desperate plan. Their leader, a cold-eyed agent named Zarek, spoke sharply. "The people are blind. They cheer for humans like fools. But we will remind them of the old ways. If we take out the human during the ceremony, fear will return." The group silently prepared for their attack. The Unity Ceremonia large stage was built in the center of Zeloria. For the first time, both Zelorians and humans stood together as equals. Bright lights lit the massive plaza. Syria stood proudly at the front, dressed in ceremonial robes. Beside her stood Daniel, still healing but stronger than ever. His once broken body now stood tall, living proof of human resilience. "Commander," Varun opened the ceremony. "Today, we throw away the chains of fear. Today, we choose trust, truth, and unity." The entire plaza roared in approval, but in the shadows, Zarek and his assassins moved into position. The assassins striking as Syria prepared to give her speech. Zarek's team fired a silent projectile toward Daniel. At the last second, Syria's sharp eyes caught the glint of metal in the air. Without hesitation, she lunged forward. Blocking Daniel, the projectile struck her shoulder, burning through her robes. She fell to one knee, gasping, but alive. The crowd screamed in panic. Guards rushed to protect them, and blasters fired back into the shadows. Zarek shouted, "Fear will rule again." His team tried to escape, but Commander Varun's forces quickly surrounded them. A short but fierce battle broke out as the loyal soldiers overpowered the last of Myron's extremists. Daniel stand as Syria struggled to stand. Daniel held her firmly. "Syria, are you?" She nodded weakly. "Just a burn. I will live." Daniel looked into the cameras still recording the entire event. His voice, calm but powerful, reached every citizen watching. "Fear tried to silence us again, but it failed." He helped Syria stand beside him. "We are different in many ways, but our hearts share one truth. We are stronger when we trust. Today, we finish what fear tried to destroy long ago." The plaza erupted in thunderous cheers. The victory of truth with the attackers captured. Commander Varun stepped forward. Let this be the final proof. The last chains of fear are broken. From this day forward, humans and Zilorians will walk together in trade, in knowledge, and in peace. Flags of both species were raised together for the first time. The private moment later that evening. Under the glowing moons, Syria and Daniel sat quietly on a high balcony. The city below was filled with celebration. Syria's shoulder was bandaged, while she smiled. You could have run when they attacked, she said softly. Daniel chuckled. And leave you alone? Never. Syria looked deeply into his eyes. You have taught me more than any teacher, not about science, but about courage, about kindness. Daniel gently held her hand. And you've shown me that even the strongest hearts can be lonely until they're seen. They sat in silence, watching their people celebrate a new beginning. But one last step remained. The council had fallen. The lies were exposed. The enemies were defeated. But true peace was not just about victory in battle. It would take real trust to build a future where humans and Zilorians stood side by side, not just in words, but in life. That final test was about to come. A new future togetherness had passed since the failed assassination at the Unity ceremony. The city of Zeloria was no longer ruled by fear. Walls that once divided humans and Zilorians had finally fallen. Now, they worked side by side. Children from both species played together under the glowing crystal trees. Human engineers taught Zelorian scientists new ways to heal. Zelorian healers shared their advanced knowledge to help humans grow stronger. The planet was alive with hope. The first human Zelorian Academy at the center of the city stood a shiny new building, the Unity Academy. It was built not just for trade and science, but for teaching the next generation to live without fear. Syria stood at the entrance, wearing the emblem of peace on her robe. Daniel stood beside her, smiling as children entered the academy for their first lessons. Syria looked at him warmly. I never thought I would see this day. Daniel nodded. And yet, here we are. You chose to believe in something bigger than fear. Syria's voice softened. You gave me the courage to believe. The Council of Peace of the Old Council had been completely rebuilt. Now, both humans and Zilorians shared leadership equally. During the first official meeting, Daniel was asked to speak. He stood before thousands, his voice steady and kind. We once believed we were too different to trust each other, but today, we proved that trust is stronger than fear. We can build a future where both our worlds grow together. He paused, then added, I was once a stranger here, but Syria saw me not as a threat, but as a person. That small choice changed everything. The crowd rose to its feet, cheering loudly. The personal bond that night, as the city lights twinkled under the twin moons. Daniel and Syria walked alone through the peaceful gardens. The soft wind carried the scent of glowing flowers. Syria stopped and looked at Daniel. Do you remember? The first thing I said when I examined you. Daniel smiled. Impossible. You should be dead. They both laughed softly. Syria stepped closer. But you lived. Not just because of your body, but because of your heart. Daniel gently held her hand. And you gave me something to live for. Their eyes met, filled with deep emotion. For so long, they had fought not just against enemies, but against fear itself. Now, they stood free. The legacy begins years later. Their story became legend taught in both human and Zelorian schools. Children would learn how one human's refusal to give up and one Zelorian's choice to question old lies changed the future of two entire worlds. In classrooms, when young students asked their teachers, how did humans and Zelorians become friends? The answer was always simple, because one alien girl saw a broken human and said, you should be dead. But instead of turning away, she stayed. And together, they chose kindness over fear. The stars shine bright in the quiet night. Far above Zeloria, the spaceships one human, one Zelorian traveled side by side toward a new colony they would build together inside one ship. Daniel and Syria stood hand in hand, watching the stars. Daniel whispered, it's only the beginning. Syria smiled. Yes, a new beginning for both of us. And as their ships soared into the stars, the galaxy around them shined brighter than ever before. Asterisk.